Welcome to Slow News Day Live. I'm Steve Poikinen. This will be take 4 this morning on this live. Here's hoping it works. Although I am no longer expecting it to. Oh, hey, holy shit. All right, so let's hope this continues. Let's start the show. Bernie Sanders, who you may recognize from his many television appearances on Curb Your Enthusiasm, has written an op-ed in, of all fucking places, the Columbia School of Journalism Review. I'm actually not going to wager a guess as to whether or not Bernie wrote this. He seems like he's, been around a pen before. He's written a few books. I haven't gotten around to read them, so I don't know if this is consistent with his writing style or not. But he opens the piece quoting Walter Cronkite, immediately quotes Joseph Pulitzer, and then goes on to tear a giant gaping hole into corporate media. Why is this important? Because we're finally seeing someone other than a completely bloated authoritarian strongman going after the powers that be as they were. By the way, if you guys are seeing this and hearing this, fucking please let me know. And I would I'm genuinely curious as to whether or not this is getting through. I've had nothing but fucking problems from YouTube this morning. So I'm gonna hope that we're doing all right and kind of keep rolling through it, because a lot of this does tie into what I spent most of yesterday talking about on other people's shows. According to Bernie's op-ed, Facebook and Google control 60% of the entire digital advertising market. A recent study by News Media Alliance found that in 2018, as newspaper revenues declined, Google made $4.7 billion off of reporting that, or off of advertising they didn't pay for. That's a lot of money, and that's a lot of influence. We know that there are 6 corporations that control 90 to 95% of all media. Outside of those 6 corporations are Facebook, Google, Twitter. And yet they seem to have this nefarious fucking partnership with both government and the intelligence agencies that run government, and the rest of corporate media. For example, Vox is owned by Comcast, with NBC being one of the biggest controlling interests in Vox. I use Vox as an example because they're a deeply cynical, disingenuous propaganda outlet headed by Marcos Malitsis from the Daily Kos, and the stalwart hacks of establishment fucking bootlicking glee like Matty Iglesias. If anyone ever meets Matt Iglesias, politely smack the hat off of his head for me. Politely. Which I'm sure we can do. Bernie, as we've kind of seen over the last couple of weeks, has decided that he's not going to let corporate media frame his campaign without a fight this time. One of the bigger criticisms that I had of his campaign in 2016 is that it was blatantly obvious that corporate media was spending an inordinate amount of time and energy trashing the dude for perceived real or fabricated out of whole cloth reasons. And he didn't say shit about it. It's a little bit different this time. He's got people involved in independent media running his campaign for him. I would not be surprised to find out that David Sirota had a heavy hand in this particular op-ed, which is lengthy and which I will link in the description. Bernie closes his op-ed by saying our Constitution's First Amendment explicitly protects the free press because the founders understood how important journalism is to a democracy. Let's unpack that sentence for a minute. Our Constitution's First Amendment explicitly protects the free press. That's great. A op-ed by a presidential campaign unhappy with not only the coverage it's receiving, but the way that corporate media spins things in general, in defense of a free press, should be able to say Julian Assange's name out fucking loud. Seems like a great time to be like, hey, by the way, since I'm calling you out in your publication, the publication that inspires access journalists like Chris Hayes and like Matt Iglesias, although I don't know off the top of my head if they're products of the Columbia School of Journalism, they sure as fuck act like it. If you're going to call them out in their own house, I can't think of a better time to say, by the way, the unlawful and arbitrary detention of Julian Assange is batshit insane, needs to end, and we don't have a free press if publishers are held to be tortured in prison for publishing the truth. But does Bernie say that? No, he missed the boat on that. This is a great sentence. More than 2 centuries after the Constitution was signed, we cannot sit by and allow corporations, billionaires, and demagogues to destroy the fourth estate, nor can we allow them to replace serious reporting with infotainment and propaganda. Yes, you're absolutely correct. Presidential candidate who's about to get robbed for the second time in broad daylight. You're right. I couldn't agree with that statement more. I couldn't agree with the sentiment more. The disconnect is that we know for at least 60 or 70 years, the fourth estate has been heavily compromised by intelligence agencies. It's been heavily compromised by self-censorship for people who don't want to lose their access to famous politicians or famous people. It's been compromised by insane corporate influence. It's been compromised at every conceivable level. We have got a handful of legitimate journalists operating inside and outside of the country today, and none of them show up in what anyone would consider mainstream or even mainstream or accepted online publications. And I would include The Nation in that at this point, because The Nation has been pumping out pro-empire garbage for the last decade, if not longer. Do not worry about being late. Anthony Reyes, I think we've only been around for a few minutes. I've been trying to start this fucking stream since 11 o'clock this morning. Yes, Tulsi Gabbard has said Julian Assange's name out loud, and Chelsea Manning's name out loud, and Edward Snowden's name out loud. I am incredibly happy that we do have one person running for president who's unafraid to say that. The impact that has and the amount of blacklisting that Tulsi Gabbard's campaign has received, I don't know, man. Maybe she needs to go back on Rogan, because this shit really started, not really started, but really ratcheted up once some internal polling came through the DNC that showed that Sanders was actually tracking much faster and much further than the rest of the field. And that his interview on Joe Rogan in just like a week or two had reached almost 10 million people. 10 million people is the kind of reach that Rachel Maddow's show will not get in a night, if not a week. These are 10 million people who, by the comments at least, were largely unfamiliar with Bernie Sanders or only knew him in the context of sound bites or what they saw through other mainstream outlets and propaganda networks. The cool thing about a long form interview, if not the cool thing about Joe Rogan's show, is that you really can get to know somebody. And Rogan, for whatever reason, has kind of become an outlet where, despite all reasons to believe otherwise, they feel like they can relax, let loose, and maybe say some shit that they wouldn't ordinarily say. Oh, what the fuck? I'm really getting notifications on my laptop now. Anywho, thanks, Ed. I appreciate it. Yes, the fucking stream is finally working, and I agree that Rogan is a shill now. I've never not look. Somebody shoulder tapped Rogan in 2007. Like, I'm not here to argue the merits of Joe Rogan. I'm saying his show has provided a template for the long form interview that didn't exist in modern soundbite culture. So, shill or not, we can think if not Joe Rogan, the format that has become familiar to all of us now. I don't know about you guys, man, but when I watch somebody's show, I don't want a fucking 3-minute clip. I don't want a 12-minute interview with 4 minutes of commercial break. Especially if I think the people that are being interviewed are A, lying, or B, genuinely have something to say. You can get a lot of fucking sound bites out that have absolutely nothing to do with where you stand personally or how you're going to vote or how you're going to behave in a short interview, and not be questioned, because people, journalists, at least the ones that Bernie's writing to in this op-ed and the ones that we address on this show all the time, they aren't in it for a follow-up. They aren't in it for any semblance of truth. They're there to satisfy the advertisers and the people that control the advertisers, and that's fucking it. And I'm glad this actually worked. Yeah, no, I mean, there's, look, and this is for Eyewitness in the chat. My show's not a fucking campaign commercial for anyone, for any reason. There are things that I like about a couple of the presidential candidates, and I'm including Bernie Sanders' op-ed in here because I think it, for what it is, for the act that it is a necessary and genuinely bold and or progressive step to go directly into the house of the Columbia School of Journalism and say, look, you guys are fucking compromised, and here's why. And even if his op-ed falls on deaf ears, it opens everybody in the Columbia School of Journalism, it opens everyone that reads it up to a larger conversation about what is the state of the American media, what is the state of independent media, where can we go from here? How can we better ourselves as independent content creators, knowing what we're facing? I was on a show yesterday. I'm going to say this wrong too. The Plebius Project. Those episodes I think will air later this week, and I'll certainly link them. But that was kind of a recurring question I got hit with was was how do we as independent content creators fight, like genuinely fight back against constant censorship, against people who are brainwashed to be reactionary when they hear information outside of the narrative. And honestly, 100%, you can't give a fuck. You can't. You can't get mad that they get mad. You can want to hammer people with information, but ultimately, that's a fucking leading a horse to water scenario that you don't necessarily have control over. What we can do is put out the most honest show every day, backed by documentation, and that's fucking it. Like, that's all we can do. We can show you the documents. We can discuss it in a manner that people are used to conversationally, even if the information itself is new, and you leave it out there. And that's, I mean, that's, you know, short of the next step, which is organized action and protest, which, you know, I also do, and we're definitely doing through the Free Assange series. You put it out there, you know, you put out a good product, you know, you fucking told the truth, you hold your head up high, you walk away, and you fucking get to sleep at night. Like, I am really not surprised that you're not getting notifications, Karen. I want to see someone who actually challenges Tulsi and not just smoke weed with her or do other crap of no value. Challenges her how? Like on what? Like on her shortcomings? Because I mean, Jesus, dude, I would love to have that happen. I know that Andrew Smith, the guy who put together the Free Assange vigils and is our fucking wizard-like technical director and handles way too much of the booking. I know that he's trying to reach out to Tulsi's campaign to get her on one of the Free Assange vigils. There's pictures of Tulsi Gabbard wearing an Action for Assange wristband. Like, you know, it seems like something that maybe could happen if you guys are also watching the Vigil series and you're supporting the work that we're doing over there, and you are following Tulsi on Twitter. Once in a while, hit her up and tell her to do the thing. It can't hurt. It really can't. Real quick, and hopefully I don't have to say this every vigil, and then I'll get back to the state of left media, because I think that all ties in anyway. I've been doing the show for almost a year. I've been doing the show whenever I can. Whenever I go into the studio, I pay for that time out of my own pocket. And I launched a Patreon because, fuck, man, I'm running out of hours in the day, and I would like to be able to do this more and not have a night job. The only way that I can do that is if I can consistently sustain a couple of things on this end, and that's an internet speed upgrade and a fucking new camera. So I have a Patreon now. If you go to patreon.com and type in Slow News Day, that's me. I am there. I will be saturating that motherfucker with content, and there will be recorded conversations with me and Jason Carney, probably Brooke Hines, and a number of other people. I will write more there. It will be a fun place to go and hang So I'll include a link to that in the description, and it's fucking, I guess it's what, you know, news or journalism is supposed to be in its truest sense, is listener and viewer supported, without the philanthropy of David Koch, without the philanthropy of Eric Schmidt, without Raytheon stepping in, or Comcast, or Merck, Pfizer. I would like to be able to do more with this show, uh, in terms of what kind of content I would put out, and I would also like to be able to gift the people who sustain the show with, like, you know, some kind of something, man. Depending on where you live, you can either wear it or smoke it. Like, we'll put it that way. So yeah, patreon.com/slow/slownewsday. And that's ultimately where the state of left media is too. Although I want to make a big distinction right now. There are a lot of people whom I consider friends that do a political horse race show 99% of the time. And most of their content is a reaction to something that's happening in the mainstream press. There are a few channels that highlight truly independent outlets, and they're starting to do that more. But when you get right down to it, if you're not looking at an actual, like, court or government document that has been either unredacted or leaked, you're going to get censored content until you go truly outside of mainstream or mainstream funded news sources. This isn't a knock on anyone by any means. It's the game. It's the state of left media in this country. How most content creators survive is by pointing a finger at the mainstream, but still staying within the confines of, at the end of the day, the only way you can change anything is by electing a Democrat, but a different Democrat, to be a Democrat inside a corrupt system that's been rigged and exists as a fucking cover for plutocrats. So, Chris, I think I've kind of addressed the Willie Brown thing before, in terms of, I don't really want to address the Willie Brown thing. That's Lauren Steiner's show. I don't want to do Lauren Steiner's show. I don't want to do Jimmy Dore's show, or Ron Placone's show, or Jamarl Thomas's show, or fucking Freeman Fly's show, or fucking Jason Burmis's show. I don't want to, you know, I want to do my show, and I don't know how much value there is in saying Kamala Harris was Willie Brown's side piece. She introduced herself as such at parties where his wife was at. I don't know what that does to, like, square people to who she is, dude. You can look at a 15-second clip of her mocking the parents of truant children that she wants to lock up. You can watch a 15-second clip of her giggling at the thought of fucking destroying the lives of people who are homeless, or have a small amount of weed, or fucking got raped by a priest and she decided to protect the clergy instead of the victims, or lost their homes because of uh, illegal activities by Steve Mnuchin and One West Bank. It, I don't know, man. I mean, who Kamala Harris is as a person is evident in every interview she gives, and every time she's on a debate stage. She is either a cold, wooden, soulless, dead-eyed fucking careerist, or she is a highly animated and engaged harbinger of punishment. Like, those are her two settings. And to see a video of her leading her supporters in a clap chant where the words are about how good and strong and smart she is, and she's saying her own name along with them, like that to me seems, seems all you really need to know about her. Then you can read up about the things that she did when she was DA here and Attorney General here. And if her record doesn't convince you, and you're the type of person that needs to know that she is as morally bankrupt as she is ethically bankrupt, then yeah, dude, link Lauren's show where she's talking about it. Like I don't know. If you think, I mean, if you think that she fucked her way to the top is an insult, or that weaponizing sex is something that's going to like lose her points and not gain her points, especially among the fucking we don't understand feminism pussy hat crowd. I don't know, dude. I don't know. Anywho, I would love to have Barrett Brown on. Barrett Brown has made it pretty clear that my show is not big enough for him. But he says that about everybody's show. So we'll see. I don't know. I would like to send Barrett Brown clips of me interviewing people that are more famous than he is. Maybe that'll fucking go to me. Let's just get petty. Fuck it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I love Barrett Brown's art. I do. I know he's an asshole. I know he's a bastard. I know he's pissed off a lot of people. And I know that he doesn't have a great relationship with some of the people that I admire. Unless I find out that he's being weaponized against them, I would still have him on my show. There are, and this is something that I try to explain too. When I'm on other shows, is that I don't want to have a debate show here. It's not what this platform is for. This platform is to highlight artists and real journalists and activists and organizers who are currently doing something to fight back against the dystopian hellscape that we call late-stage capitalism here in the heart of the fucking empire. That's what this is. So it would be grab him by the chin. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just it doesn't interest me to bring somebody on for the sole purpose of conflict. So you're not gonna see that here. If that's what you want in the show, there are other shows that do that. So Barry Brown is a hacker. He was part of the original anonymous team that took out Peter Thiel's first company, I believe. And he's been going after Peter Thiel not exclusively, but but specifically Peter Thiel, co-founder of Facebook and CEO now of Palantir, which is the company that is facilitating ICE and other law enforcement agencies to better arrest people. If you look into the company Palantir, you will find that they are incredibly shady. And while people are picking on them, no one has gone after them like Barrett Brown has. He has a very, very large ego and a very, very large personal vendetta against Peter Thiel. So that's where he's focusing his energy, and it's a good thing to focus your energy on, honestly. Like, fuck Palantir, you know? I hope they go down. But yeah, that's yeah, there was a huge raid that netted a handful of people that were supposedly like really high up or core involved in the original Anonymous. This is also why I think that Anonymous itself is a giant fucking psyop, because they brought in or they recruited very, very talented hackers that all went to fucking prison. I have the same sentiment about Q Anonymous, is that it is fucking fabricated out of whole cloth by an intelligence agency to fucking give people hope so that they constantly wait for the other shoe to drop, and it will never fucking drop. Or they get to round up and either arrest or put to work hacktivists who would have otherwise become fully activated and done some shit. Yeah. So I don't have any faith in Anonymous as an outlet or as an organization. I have faith in individual people, but I believe the organization is compromised. They've been contracted by agencies so as to leave it. Yeah, you know, if you've got a talented group of individuals that can get into anyone's computer on the planet and you can coerce them to come work for you, whether by contract or by threat, you're going to, right? I mean, that's it just seems like something that would happen. Yeah, I don't know. Anonymous group started off as a bunch of 4chan trolls wanting to start conflict with Church Scientology. I think that was part of it. Yeah, I do. What I'm unsure about is how genuine 4chan is to begin with. I don't have a lot of I don't know, man. I don't put a lot of trust in any online forum, no matter what it is, especially one that is as open as 4chan is. It's not like, I mean, it's really not like you have to fucking wait until a little fucking box with a skull up at your dorm room, and then you fucking put it on your jacket and your life changes. It's not like that, you know. You don't join 4chan like that. If I'm getting confirmation in the chat, dude, I'll take it. I don't go to 4chan a lot. I don't fuck with a lot. I don't fuck with 8chan a lot. I don't fuck with Vote a lot. But you kind of gotta a little bit. It's important to know what the propaganda war looks like for people on the authoritarian and libertarian right. I want collective ascension. I want us to, as a species, as humanity, fucking transcend to a cashless society where we define work as the betterment of our communities, our planet, and ourselves. We can't do that with just some people in the lower left-hand corner of that political grid. So you got to know what their propaganda looks like. You got to know what their arguments are going to be, and you can, to borrow a phrase from Tulsi Gabbard or Marianne Williamson, or because they're both saying aloha and lead with love. You can do that all you want, but not everybody's wired like that. Especially not people that are authoritarians. I have an easier time talking to right-leaning libertarians than I do authoritarian-leaning leftists or communists or centrists, because I don't do authoritarians of any kind. And I need to learn how to do that a little bit better if I want to effectively message collective human ascension. But fuck, man, there are some thick ass people out there that think that more rules and more law enforcement is the way to go, and I can't do that. None of what you see and a third of what you hear, providing you have a decent historical scope on which to base what you hear upon. So here's the thing, Ms. Tree. I don't know how much of history is accurate. I can't. It turns out that, like, the majority of the stuff that they taught me about U.S. history was inaccurate in my school, and I found out that there were very, very different versions of history that existed, and it's no, you're not an idiot for believing what Tom Hartman said. Tom Hartman is a very good speaker. Tom Hartman is very persuasive. He does a very good job at his gig. And everybody is on some sort of walk, on some sort of path. Like, there's things that you could probably agree with Tom Hartman about right fucking now, even if you don't agree with the end result of what his point's gonna be. People smack their heads over, like, oh, I used to like Bill Maher, or, oh, I used to like Stephen Colbert. If you've been on any kind of leftward progression, those people have probably found their shit likable, attractive, enjoyed it, whatever, because that's just part of your progression. It's getting to a place and going, okay, that's enough. This is as much as I need to know about anything, and I'm only going to hear a perspective that aligns with this one, and it can come from multiple voices, and they can all look different and they can sound different, as long as they're ultimately saying the exact same thing. It's diversity for the sake of optics, not diversity of opinion that you find attractive. So if you're gonna stop there, yeah, man, that's ceasing your own personal growth. It's ceasing your own personal evolution. So I would fault that. I would put that as your fault. But liking a particular um, journalist or speaker, talking head, fucking whatever, uh, once upon a win, dude, and not liking them now just shows that you are still on your journey, that you're still growing. So fuck, dude, like don't ever feel bad about that shit. You can make fun of yourself for it, certainly, but like don't kick yourself for it, right? Uh, I hope that makes sense. I don't know. Um, I've never been accused of being pragmatic before. That's fucking hilarious. I mean, I guess I get it. If you put it in the context, Ron Placone does, where he says there's nothing pragmatic about incremental solutions to catastrophic problems. Um, yeah, I can see that. I you also, yeah, you're right about. I mean, history's a fucking really weird thing, and if you only look at one angle of history, that's the exact same thing as looking at the present in a media bubble. And that's not, it's never going to be something that I'll endorse. Um, my grandfather was a Church of God minister. He was a doctor. He had a doctorate in theology, and he made sure that if there was a Bible in the house, there was also any manner of other religious texts. And if I was going to read one, I had to read them all. So yeah, I you know I think the further away we get from reclaimable history, the harder it is to have any kind of accurate or legitimate opinion on it. And what I mean by reclaimable history is that you can connect personal stories and records and archaeological evidence to form a good opinion on the veracity of what passes as historical fact. Uh, what I would like to see is an accurate assessment of reclaimable history. That's what I would like to see. Um, I've said this on the show before. Part of what really is difficult about existing in actual independent media is that not only do we have to combat the rewriting of recent history and distant history, but we also have to combat uh, the rewriting of real time. It's fucking weird. I mean, just to think about, like, as a thing, combating the rewriting of real time and then getting that message out to the people that just saw what they've perceived as the truth happen in real time. This comes back to the question that I kept getting asked yesterday, which is how do you fight the reactionary elements in the majority of society who have visceral real anger when you're all that's bullshit and here's why. uh, Welcome, Geronimo. Came here after catching up on Ron Pacone and recognized some of the names. Yeah, Ron Pacone is a friend of the show. I was just on his show yesterday. to talk about the Free Assange Vigil series that I co-host with Andrew Smith and Taylor Hudak and Christy Dopp, which is on the Action for Assange YouTube channel. We have vigils every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Tomorrow night will be cool. We've got a couple activists on. The first week of September will be really fucking cool. If you've watched this show in the past, you have probably seen John Kiriakou on. If you're unfamiliar with who he is, he's the CIA whistleblower who disclosed the CIA torture program in 2007, and for his bravery was rewarded with 23 months in a federal prison. He will be on not tomorrow's vigil, but next Wednesday's vigil. Also on that night is comedian Krish Mohan. I saw Krish open for Lee Camp when he came. Krish toured with Lee Camp for like 6 months or a year. They came to Santa Cruz. Krish's set was fucking phenomenal. He has a podcast called Fork Full of Ramen. And then I ran into him on the Epic Day of live streaming thing. So he will be on Monday, Labor Day Monday, starting at like stupid o'clock early Pacific time. I'm going to be on the air at 8 a.m., 11 a.m. Eastern time. I really should actually read the lineup for this. Let me pull it up because it's kind of fucking cool. Wow, these people talk a lot. Looks like 11 a.m. to kick off. We will have Gordon Dimick. We're going to give all the WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, Chelsea Manning, and Susie Dawson news that we have. At 1 o'clock, friend of this show, Brooke Hines, will be on. At 2 o'clock, a handful of people from the World Socialist website will be on. At 3 o'clock, Graham Elwood will be on. So Monday, Gordon Dimick, Brooke Hines, some folks from the World Socialist website who I don't have names for, and motherfucking Graham Elwood. That should be a killer time. And then Wednesday, John Kiriakou and Krish Mohan. Friday, for sure, Libertarian candidate for president Adam Kokesh will rejoin the Action for Assange live stream. If you are unfamiliar with this dude, man, go give him a glance. The sheer entertainment value of Adam Kokesh is worth it, and he's campaigning on abolishing the federal government within the first 72 hours of him getting elected, which is a conversation that I really want to have on this show. I also have some fantastic interviews coming up. I will be hanging out with Elizabeth Voss again on Thursday of this week. I'm going to start putting together content for the Patreon that will be Patreon members only content. And those will be like basically off record conversations with me and Jason Carney and me and Carlos Tierra, who's the guy who worked out of the Hollywood script writing factory that wrote the 4 speeches for Hillary Clinton's top four vice presidential candidate nominees, which included Andrew Gillum and Elizabeth Warren, that he did break down on an episode of Slow News Day. But he had a bunch of other stuff that he wasn't really willing to talk about until it was like behind more closed doors. So if I put that behind a paywall, then he'll talk some shit. And just a couple of off-record conversations that I've had with that gentleman are fucking wild. If you are a fan of conspiracy culture at all, chances are you have at least heard of the show Grimerica. They have been around for a number of years. They are like higher side chats and tinfoil hat with Sam Tripoli fucking favorites. They're gonna be on the show. I am either going to have Adam Kokesh or Jared Beck and Krish Mohan on 9/11 before the Unity for J Vigil. We got wild shit going on. We really do. I would very much like for you guys to be a part of it. And if you are able to, I would like you to be a part of what's going on the Patreon. If not, I'm going to do as many of these as I fucking can. I'm booking interview guests. I'm doing, I'm trying to get, the people that I think are doing a really good job of delivering news outside of the narrative and are doing it without any kind of like substantial backing or with a lot of advertisers. So yeah, Invisible. Oh, rad. Hey, welcome. Thanks for hanging out. I'm really glad you're here. I know a lot of people shit all over Jared Beck for going after Bernie Sanders and Bernie Sanders supporters the way he has over the last year. I think Jared Beck has a lot more to say outside of the context of the DNC fraud lawsuit. I think that he is a fascinating person, crazier than hell. I don't know a lawyer who isn't just fucking nuts. So I'm, so here's the thing, man. I genuinely want to do that. And I genuinely want to be able to give them out to patrons. There's a goals section on the Patreon thing. I'm sure I'm gonna hemorrhage viewers right now. But yeah, if I get around like 50 people at an average of $3 a month, I can sustain the internet speed to have interview guests and the occasional video or graphic. If I get an average of $5 a month out of those 50 people, I've got 2 local businesses right here that we've worked with in the Santa Cruz Mountains that do screen printing. Like when I say local, my wife who grew up around here grew up with the dude who owns one, and then the other guy is now inherited the house in Boulder Creek that his great grandfather had. So I do local, man, local. That is beautiful. Like, swallow, and share. All of it. All of it. Yeah, no. So Jared pretty much stopped doing interviews when he got booted from Twitter. In fact, I think the only interview that he's done, if not like one of the very few, was here on this show. Which, by the way, that's a fucking fantastic Slow News Day episode, is the conversation with Jared Beck. That's what got me on the idea of manufactured confusion that I talk about. Chomsky wrote Manufacturing Consent. Consent has been manufactured. If it wasn't by the time the Patriot Act was signed, that was the nail in the coffin. We now live in manufactured confusion. We are oversaturated with division and bullshit information. Oversaturated with fucking hello B. New MK Ultra fucking pop music shit. God damn it. Oh, one die today. I'm not allergic to bees, so it's all right. Wow, that just threw me off. All right, I'm gonna bounce for a minute. If I can figure out what the fuck I'm gonna say again, I'll come back. Until next time, I am Steve Poikinen. This has been Slow News Day. Good luck to us all.